Hey y'all, how's it going? It's Mia, and as you can see, in a different setting again. I'm still in the same house. I just was able to be promoted out of the basement and into the office. So I'm super happy that I'm not there. But let's just talk about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, episode 4. Forget what series I'm watching. Wasn't this episode something? I don't even know where to begin. First of all, I want to say that it was not my I liked episode 3 better. Not to say that this episode wasn't good, but I definitely did like episode 3 a little bit better. Not gonna lie, but this one was very dramatic and it feels like a lot happened and not a lot happened in the same time. But let's first talk about Daemon, because my friendship ended with Daemon and now Sir Cole is my best friend. I mean, like, you guys could see how every single time I talked about Daemon and Rhaenyra, I was like, I was trying not to insinuate the thing that I was sure House of the Dragon was trying to insinuate every single time. I was like, no, it's a friendly relationship. No, it's just, they're just decent and uncle, and now we've gotten to this point. But I mean, like, in the beginning, I was still young and naive, and we have Daemon coming back from his war at the Stepstones, and he's won, he's victorious, he even has a haircut, RIP to his wig. And it was like him and his brother back together. There was that animosity. I really thought it was going to be on site, like whatever was going to happen, those two were just going to be on, and him and King Viserys. And then it turned out that they were very amicable with one another. So that was quite the surprise. But my suspicion was like, what is Daemon up to, or what is going to happen in the meantime or at some other point in this episode. And of course, we know it didn't last long. But I was also it was interesting to see again that both Daemon and Rhaenyra were still friendly with one another as well, because we had this whole thing about him coming for the throne, and she's like, if you want to be the heir, you gotta get through me first. So I know that strained their relationship, but it was nice at first to see them getting along. And every time they're together, they speak High Valyrian to one another and all those things. I was like, wow, isn't this so nice that this relationship is repaired? So before we fast forward into all that, let's go back to the beginning of the episode when we were looking at Rhaenyra, and she's on her like courtship world tour. That's why it's funny, because I was like, oh, was she on like a courtship world tour? And I was like, no, it's not. And then Cole literally goes and says that in like the next minute after. But clearly she ended it. She wasn't feeling it, and her father wasn't happy about that either. And Viserys did give her the courtesy of being like, well, you know what, you can just go and choose whoever you want to marry. He was being nice to her in that regard, but she did kind of burn that bridge now. He was kind of very angry, supposedly, about her cutting that off shortly. So that's the one thing. But then we have this whole thing. We know she talks more about why she doesn't want this. She just doesn't want to be, someone's maid. She just doesn't want to be continuously producing heirs. She's like, I just want to be queen. I just want that to be that. So that's understandable. And here comes sweet Uncle Daemon, ready to take her out into the world and kind of give her a break or reprieve from the royal life. And she goes out into the streets to see what King's Landing is like at night. Isn't that a wonderful thing to see? And doing their little Latin thing. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. There were some funny moments. She's going and stealing food and going off to see plays. Then just wish you could like watch. I was like, oh no, what is this? Where are they going? Oh no. So we know what happens, or what kind of sort of happens. A lot of red flags were going off, and I don't know. It was like, until, okay, we can give Daemon this much. He did have the restraint to stop himself. And so I'm like, well, I can't blame Rhaenyra for being like, what's going on. I think I still have to put, if we know what we're talking about, I have to put the blame on Daemon, even if he stopped what he was doing to say this isn't right. or he kind of still did think it was right at the end of the day. But in the moment, you know, to be like, no, I'm gonna go. I put the blame on him because he's older. He should take the blame. He should know better. He should be wiser. I mean, he's not, so what am I to say? But I'm just here to say that I am still Team Rhaenyra. I'm like Alicent. I believe her, even though Rhaenyra lied to Alicent too, so she's still being a little sneaky. But at the same time, I don't think Rhaenyra is to blame for all this. She's had a lot going on anyway, and Daemon should know better. So we are no longer friends. I'm sorry. Daemon is no longer MVP of House of the Dragon. And then I just like that she's like, you know, Sir Cole, let's go be the rebounds. So of course the drama doesn't just end there. There is this whole thing about, you know, when the princess escapes from the place that she's at, we have some eyes and ears on the ground, and I'm like, oh great, of course Ghost report to Otto Hightower what happens, and then, you know, our dastardly hand of the king is like, oh well, this is just awesome news for me. Oh, I'm sorry, my king. So he goes to tell Viserys, and I actually like Viserys' reaction to him telling him that news. He didn't just react to the news on a whim and be like, oh my god, you know, I gotta go do something. He was like, first of all, Otto, how dare you tell me this? Second of all, give me some time to figure it out. But I think the other thing that I like about this and how it kind of culminated with Otto going and revealing that he's got, you know, his eyes and ears are telling him things. I particularly liked that both Rhaenyra and Viserys called out Otto, or well, Rhaenyra called out Otto to Viserys, and Viserys called Otto out to his face. And it's just one of those things where sometimes the audience is aware of the things that are going on, and you're like, why can't they see this? Why can't they see that this person's being manipulative or, you know, blah, 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 taking advantage of them? So I did like that the writers were like, okay, these characters are smart. They do understand when people are being deceptive, and they do understand that you know, when someone is not on their team or not on their side. And just the plain fact that they did, or Viserys did, literally took Otto's position away. He's like, you're not going to be the hand of the king anymore because you are playing some kind of long game, and I see right through that. So I actually really like that. The only problem is now we've got Viserys is burning a bridge between him and Otto Hightower, and it's like, this guy is so conniving and he's scheming everything. So I don't know if Otto is going to come back with like a vengeance now that he's been scorned. But of course we know that he's got, of course, Alicent in his pocket. He can, you know, and this is kind of coming from this episode 5 preview, was that he is still going to be like, Alicent, we need to get Aegon on the throne. And Alicent is like, please, for the love of God. So it will be interesting to see how Otto will continue to play into this, especially because I'm like, okay, not only do we have Otto, right? Number 1 is now on Viserys' bad side. And then number 2, Daemon, well, we were good with him for like 10 minutes. And then Viserys found out about everything. And he's like, okay, well, you need to leave immediately. And of course, we still have Corlys Velaryon, who's like, I don't know how well they are in terms of everything that happened. But considering that Viserys wants to marry Rhaenyra off to that family, I guess it'll be interesting to see what side Corlys ends up being on, if he's still going to be team king, you know, if they are ready to strengthen this House of the Dragon. So yeah, we're assuming that, you know, basically what ends up happening episode 5 is that Rhaenyra goes ahead and marries Laenor Velaryon. I'm always like, am I saying this right? But basically, son of the sea snake. Seeing, you know, if that happens, if that goes well. Of course, this is a Game of Thrones wedding, so already it looks like some things are going to go down. Can't not happen. It's a Game of Thrones wedding. But that also then makes me wonder about Rhaenyra and Viserys' relationship, because they always seem to be like teeter-tottering. Like ever since her mother died, it's been like sometimes they're on good terms, sometimes they're on bad terms. It let them off on some pretty good terms last episode, where he was like, hey, I'm gonna give you the autonomy to choose whoever you want to marry. But now it seems like in this episode they left off on a sour note, because Viserys is like, after everything that happened, you don't get to make a choice anymore. You don't have that freedom anymore. So I'm sure she's pretty mad about that. So that's why I'm like, oh, she's really gonna go along with this wedding. Is she like, okay, is that a truce between her and Viserys? Or is she literally like, I don't know. So I'm just interested to see as well how that is gonna progress. So I think that is everything I want to discuss. There were some random things I did like about this episode that had no place. I just wanted to mention them anyway. Like just some of the comedic aspects of this. I thought it was funny when she was holding her courtship court and they start getting into a brawl and she's like, we should leave. Like it's some Nickelodeon series. And then when Allison was speaking to Damon, she was like, would you like to see the tapestries? And then Viserys goes, would you like to see the tapestries? What is that, like the chicken SpongeBob meme? That was funny. And then when Rhaenyra was watching the play about her and the throne and all that, and they mentioned her brother and she goes, boo. It was just kind of cute. It was like, stop. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it. If I forgot something, like, oh, I didn't talk about the blade that Viserys had in his room. Listen, I don't like getting too deep into the Game of Thrones lore. That's not really my place, but I do believe it's the blade that Arya ends up stabbing the Night King with. So there you go. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I just like talking about the drama more. I'm not really here to like dig deep into everything, even though I am. I just spent how many minutes talking about this? But yeah, let me know what you thought about this episode, if you liked it more, if I need to bonk you on the head because everything that happened in this episode, we all just watched it. We all know what we saw. But otherwise, be sure to leave a like. Be sure to subscribe for more. Next week, I know for sure. I said this week's episode was going to be late. It's not actually that late, but next week, I'm going to be out of the house. So I don't exactly know when the next episode's review will come out. So we shall see. That's why you need to subscribe for more. And you'll know exactly when the episode review will come out. So I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.